Hello, everybody. Kenny at Nite at the Museum here at the General Paintball Museum, and tonight we have a special show. It's not on our normal evening, but got some great guests that have volunteered to join us this evening, which we're appreciative of. Um, and they've done quite a bit for the sport and continue to do quite a bit for the sport. So we're great to have them on, and hopefully get a little history lesson on how it came to be and all the great things that they've contributed to our sport. But nobody wants to hear me ramble all night. So let's bring on our fantastic guests. We have first in the room Andy Starrett from the Alley Remembered Foundation.
Yeah, what up?
And we also have the Guy Cooper of ProStar Lab / Sports joining us this evening. How are you, Guy?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Great. So you guys have worked together for many years, and I guess we were looking for the story of kind of the Pro Lab Sports and how it became and how it evolved and all the contributions along the way. And if we could fit that within our hour, that'd be great.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, it's easy. Guy started a company, we built stuff, and now, he's retired.
I'm not retired. You're funny. In 1991, we incorporated. We started our field guide in 1988 before Andy was there. And we started with Wayne Samuel, we started manufacturing paint grenades. And that was the Little Betty and all that stuff.
Bouncing Betty.
Yeah, and the Bouncing Betty, the Bouncing Bertha. And of course, it's sort of an interesting story on the paint grenades because Tipman, we had a patent battle, and Denny called me, and I said, Denny, you didn't even want the paint grenade. We were up to selling $4,000 worth a month, and he just said he took over the wholesale and left us the retail. Well, that left us, U.S. Cavalry, making in Wayne's garage next door, $4,000 a month. Then, make a long story short, before Andy got there, Dr. Opperman worked for us. Well, he wasn't a doctor then; he was 12, and Denny called me up, and said, "Guy, you got to cut this out." I said, "Denny, you first used them at what is now EMR. It was some kind of German name back in the day." And I said, "You didn't even want them. They were a failure." So he said, "Well, I want them now." And to make a long story short, I said, "Denny, don't you know that David, your uncle, is doing, or nephew, whatever he is doing the manufacturing of those?" He said, "Really?" I said, "Yes. We're not manufacturing them anymore. We won the patent and decided to let you manufacture them."
Yeah.
So after that, long story, Andy and I, we got together. We were drop shipping out of the garage Gino's stuff. When he first called, Andy wasn't there. My sister said, "Who is this guy in a pizza shop that rides motorcycles and sells paintball?" And I said, "I don't know. Does he have a license?" She said, "Well, he sounds serious." And I said, "All right, send him a box of Bullseye." and he bought his first box of wholesale paint from us. After that, then Andy and I got together. We were working out of the garage. Gino was drop shipping $1.2 million worth of stuff. And then we incorporated in 1991, but we decided to move to a huge warehouse. And hey, Dennis.
That was a few years later, yeah.
Huh?
That was a few years later, yeah.
Yeah, a few years later. that Andy and Eric went to the Incredible Universe, and we bought all the shelving, forklifts, everything, and we decided to give up 165 paintball dealers and go all military. So Eric left in, was it Intel, Andy? Eric White?
Texas Instruments.
Yeah, okay. And he left and he did all of our bridge stuff that the APHIS needed. And APHIS said, you guys set up to do $5 million a year. Andy, myself, and our German distributors flew down to Dallas to APHIS, and we signed a contract. He said, can you do $5 million a year? We didn't even have any barcodes. We didn't have any packaging, nothing. We didn't have.
What are you talking about? We built a display to sell that thing right where your ass is sitting.
No, you built it on the front lawn.
Yeah, but then we set it up right where you're sitting just to get the.
No, we had 900 boxes of paint in here. I had no place to sit.
Well, no, but we set the display up as we built it to go to the next show right where you're sitting in that chair is.
Yeah,
I was there. I remember.
Thank goodness I got a chair now. And so in 5 weeks, Gino took over Acliff. Gino took over the 1.2 million we were doing. We went to APHIS, and in 5 weeks, we had packaging, labeling, barcoding. My girlfriend Robin was drawing all the line pictures so that everybody that worked in the warehouse would know exactly which box to put them in. There's Charles Holton. I remember him in his chicken. Anyway, after that, then we were there in 5. Well, Andy and Eric, they were at the show. John Gregory of JT said, how I was running, we were running, all of us were running and daily. And Gregory said, John Gregory of JT said, how did you get all my stuff? We don't have any barcodes. We don't have any packaging. And I said, well, we created it. And so Gregory flew down there, and Andy and Eric, we had the TV, we had the poster, everything. All the generals were there. I wasn't. And he flew down there and said, I can't believe it. And so that became, besides my mom, we put in 150,000. I think ProStar did. My mom put in 125, and interest rate was like 10 or 12%. So she didn't like that we were paying her that much. But I said, Mom, that's just the going rate. So anyway, we got that done in 5 weeks, and we were there for all the generals. And after that, then came what we became the explosive shipper.
First, put this into context, Coop. So
go ahead,
because people may not exactly know what you're talking about. So APHIS, as he keeps talking about, is the Army Air Force Exchange Service. So if you're military and you're on a base or been in the military, you know that an APHIS store is basically like a Walmart on base. They've got everything in there. Better pricing. Everything's government contract controlled. So obviously, yes, everything in that store is cheaper than where you can buy it if you stepped off the base and went to Walmart, Target, anything else. So their stores, or I don't remember how many they had back then. It was a lot, and they were worldwide. So
True.
For people at that time, which was not in big box stores, you had your National Paintballs and your RP, your PMIs and all the stores and Gramps and Grizzly and everybody around the country selling products and doing that, and manufacturers making things, yes, but nothing existed as far as big box went on a retail shelf anywhere. I'm sure Coop's going to talk about Crossman and what we did to start that. But to get in, that's why there was no barcoding and none of that, because it didn't exist. So we literally created a line of paintball products that was, we manufactured, a couple of pump guns and some stuff, but
The
we
Warrior and the Kodiak.
right. But we had, that stuff. We had Tippmann. We had to literally go through the gamut with smarts parts in there, different different manufacturers to put in some markers, have tanks and all your accessories and harnesses and all that stuff, package all that up like you would see it in any Walmart today, or Target or wherever you go shopping, because it didn't exist. So to take all that, get all that done in 5 weeks, create all that labeling, build a booth, which we were paintball guys. We were not the ones that were out there to, go do retail stuff, because again, didn't exist. We built a booth that we could set up because they invited us down to their trade show. So keep in mind, this was in the Dallas Convention Center, which is over 1 million square feet. And everybody and their mother in manufacturing, retail, you name it, was there, from every type of product that we buy consistently every day from stores all around the town you live in. The entire 1 million plus square feet was full, right? So we got in, we set this thing up. We got our little 10 by 10 booth over there in the sporting goods section. We get smarts parts to make and Kenny knows, the Renegade ref pants that were the yellow, blue, and all that. If you're old school, you remember those. Some of those made up. We had no shirts, so we had to get shirts made, some poloed shirts with our logos on them, put on those crazy pants, go walking into this convention, which is there for a lot of the companies there. They're trying to get contracts with APHIS because these are big, it's like having a Walmart contract, that you're talking big money. Here we are, we have the contract signed, and there's 2 guys that are just paintball players with all this paintball stuff. People walking by like, damn, those pants are bright. Yeah, but it worked. Drew the attention of everybody over for all that. They're just like, wow, we just, of course, then we're over there with the beer girls because, Coors is here in Colorado, and Morrison, which is where we were located. So we had to go and visit the Coors booth, occasionally, and get free beer and all that because everything was there. But it was 3 days of mental retail selling style gymnastics that paintball players were not accustomed to, because this didn't exist anywhere yet.
And you had a problem because the labor guys wanted to charge $5,000 a booth, and you guys went in there and just set it up yourself, and they didn't like it.
That's because it's all union, and they're like, nope, you got to bring it in, you got to haul it out. Good, bring it over here. We'll set it up. You don't even know how this goes, buddy. So we just set it up when they weren't looking. We're paintball players. We're rebels. We do things our way.
You make it happen.
We made it happen.
Yeah, in 5 weeks.
That's a breakdown of what kind of helped start all of that, as far as, and then Crossman. But that's a big contribution we made at ProStar, was getting this stuff going for retail and paved the way for Brass Eagle and everybody else.
200 SKUs, and Brass Eagle had 20.
Yep.
Yeah. It's quite a bit more product available there.
Oh, we had 10 times more. And we had to do, Eric designed planograms on Excel, and we had $20,000 per display. Mm-hmm. Now, $20,000, 20, Rammstein, Vilsick, Spangelheim, Germany. We had all of Germany, Aviano, Italy, Mendenhall, England, Kuwait, where Oh, yeah, they went down to Fort Hood. We built our own shooting booth. And we also, well, I was at Fort Carson too with you guys,
Mhm.
but you guys went down with the Apaches. And everybody loved shooting everything. And you won a prize. What was the prize, Andy, if you hit the golf ball?
Oh, we were just giving out little, like barrel plugs, things like that to anybody that wanted them. Because
Hey,
we were doing,
Fred,
we
Fred,
had paintball promotions. People did things at fairs and stuff like that back then too. But here's two paintball players showing up at this big monster and buildings are different sizes, but showing up at these retail stores, going in, working with the managers and the department supervisors to set up the planograms that me and Eric had designed them, and then he catted them all out or excelled them all out, and so it made it easy for them. We'd go in, set all this stuff up. They'd have 8, 16, 20 some feet of retail space cleared to make room for this new product line coming in, and depending on what each store had bought, and we'd go in and get it all set up, and then made it this shooting booth that would just big rectangle thing covered in netting. We'd set it up out front, have paint and stuff out there, and let people come in and just shoot a paintball gun right there in front of the store. So
we also did that. We didn't sell the Marines directly, but we did that. You and Eric went and did it at Cherry Point, North Carolina.
yep, that was for MWR though.
Yeah, we sold a lot of morale, welfare, and recreation. Plus, do you remember when they asked us to build a paintball field on the USS Brumby?
Oh yeah.
We shipped that, and that way they said, look, the guys would rather play paintball on the deck instead of us having them go in and get drunk. So they love that. And then we also, remember, we sold Bullseye made clear balls, so the Navy SEALs would buy those for their practice with the clear balls.
Okay.
And then comes what comes next? Rochester.
Oh yeah, good old Crossman.
They gave us. I talked to Leonard Pickett of Crossman, Benjamin Sheridan Crossman. They weren't big players, and I had built the World Paintball Library, and probably 10,000 copies that Amadeus supposed to buy this month. And Gino had originally offered me $100,000. We got more than that in it. Andy built the World Paintball Library magazine, and it's only on.
But that was long after Crossman.
Right. So we'll get back to Crossman. I mean, there's so many stories. I start with Westworld, which you never made, but
What are you talking about?
Did you go to one of the Westworlds?
Yes, I thought you were talking like Kenny. I was like, what are you talking about? We were at Westworld.
Oh, we did so many things I can't keep up with it.
God, it's almost like we're talking to our team captain, Fred, Kenny.
Nice.
Got him.
Fred's probably laughing. He said, where were you last night? And I said, I couldn't make it. And so he said, well, we'll move it. He said, I'll see it on Thursday. And so back to Crossman, Leonard Pickett gave us 3 days to fly out of here with our complete line. He says, if you've got what you've got, we'll do a deal together in all the big box stores. Prior to that, PMI made an offer to want to buy us out. And I said, okay, first of all, I hate Chicago, but he said, we want to own the field guide, which Ross Alexander had been hired by PMI to make a field guide to go against ours. Ours wasn't pretty. His was wonderful. They made 6,000 copies, but I was relentless on my MBI processor at the time of creating new page. It became ultimately about 1,000 pages with the supplemental. So I said to PMI, I said, "Hey Fred, he says, resemble the re, I can't
Resents what he
remark,
meant.
huh?
He said he resents that remark. He's just trying to get back at me because
Oh,
I'm not on his show. So I'm sure my
oh,
phone will ring any minute. What's up, Ken?
I don't even have his phone number. So Andy and I get down to Chicago. I'm pretty ripped from flying on the airplane, but it
Talking
wore
about
off.
New York,
Huh? Well, we
Crossway,
got
New
to
York.
Chicago first, but
Oh,
then we
that's
went
true.
on. We went on to Rochester. Had to
Yeah.
rent a car. Went in, and every executive in the place sat there with us, and we said Eric had made a what was that PowerPoint,
PowerPoint.
and we showed where everybody was. Crossland was at the bottom, and everybody else was National, PMI, Tasso. They were all at the top. And I said, "Well, you're at the bottom. Now you want to move to the top." So Andy and I, we had suit and ties on. None of those guys did. Then it was hot. So we just took them off and said, "Look, we're just going to be like you guys." So long story short, we had probably over 100 different issues of paintball magazines from around the world. Andy and I, while Eric was at the PowerPoint, we were putting all these different issues from Spain, from you name it, from everywhere. And they said, "Oh my gosh." And then after that, we were starting to hand out uh, invoices. And it's not my dog, it must be Andy's.
No, it's my
So,
dog. Somebody's ringing the doorbell.
so we we started we handed out all these $15,000-$20,000 SKU invoices, and they just looked at the pages, and it was a 5 or 6 page insert. They were like crazy. Andy built that guide, and of course I inputted some pictures and that kind of thing. Uh, so uh, that was, I don't even know how long it took to do that, but that was all done by Andy and publisher. So if we had downtime, we
Took
start building
months.
that.
Months.
So yeah, over months. I mean, of course, I started collecting in 1983. Ross Alexander drove over to my house and he said, "Guy, I've got some of the front lines that you don't have." I said, "Come on over." So he was in Boulder, had decided to open his own field, and Line SI went bust with the Advantage. And he came over and visited and gave me the front lines I didn't have. And while you're showing the field guide, to everyone's amazement, Frontline came out in August of '83. But I discovered the Adventurer magazine that came out. Hey, Ryan, I discovered the Adventure magazine had come out in April of '83. And so that was the first paintball magazine. And boy, it just rocked the world. That's my dad, a toy gun manufacturing with me. And he used to manufacture and compete with Mattel. And those are all my friends in the survival game in 1983, and we went against that below is Hot Pursuit with my dad, where we went out there and played at Victor, Colorado, and it was 3.5 hours away, and that was a Civil War game, and they made everybody that was anybody generals. So
Yeah, they did.
yep. But they Phil lost that field. He's the only one that tried to go public. He raised $110,000, and then he shipped his Wisconsin warehouses out there to Victor, Colorado, and he made them full of pot. They caught him, they busted him, sent him to prison, and Victor, Colorado, and the Civil War was over. Then after that comes Jim Helton days, But I guess back to Rochester, once they saw everything we had, they said, all right, we appreciate you coming. And we get a letter from Leonard Pickett says, well, we decided we're going to go ahead with it ourselves with Kevin Musak. And they cut us out. So long story short, whether it's karma or whatever, 2 years later, Leonard Pickett, 1 o'clock in the morning, hit a tree and was dead. So we're still here. And we met some people out there, and Andy and I, who was that one with some girl that was there, and she went with us. We went to Niagara Falls, and I said, wow, if I ever get married again, I'm going back there because it was wonderful. The Canadian side, the American side sucked.
Still sucks. It's the same.
Yeah, you're right.
Gotta go to the Canadian side.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, that's when Andy, my girlfriend Robin, that's Andy standing above all of us. That's Aruba.
Somebody's got to be in charge.
Yeah, he was in charge. We built the first field in Aruba. There had never been an air gun allowed. How Alex Rivera, that was a world kickboxing champion, how he
South
got in the
American.
rank. Huh?
South American.
No, he was Venezuela.
Well, he had
50
the South American title. I don't think he ever did the worlds.
He had he had the USA and had the Venezuelan.
Yeah.
50 first place trophies. Andy and I had trained. We wrestled on my floor, all this, and I trained for that match. And I took on Alex in the courtyard, beat him in locks and breaks. But Andy and we did the boxing part. And he said, wow, I said, I lasted 9 minutes. I just said, I can't bleed anymore from anywhere. And Andy fought him. And he said, well, Andy's got quite a punch. And it was really, really fun because they provided a driver and everything to us. And otherwise, we probably would have been killed because he knew where to go that was safe. Not everything was safe in Aruba at those clubs.
Only the one side of the island's bad down in the corner. The rest of it's good.
Yeah, but we didn't go windsurfing.
We were too busy building a paintball field.
Well, we did that, but then we stopped. Remember? And you were teaching them how to use the Tippmann carbine and how to rebuild it. And then after that, we just
eating Taco Bell because the Taco Bell there is amazing for some reason.
I don't remember that. I remember bicycling the beaches and seeing all the topless girls.
Yep. And then years later, they had the Aruba tournament there on Brass Eagle. Like, yeah, well, that's there because me and Coop put it there. But you're welcome.
Yeah. Jossie, whose dad owned one of the hotels, they ran.
Jossie owned the hotels.
Huh?
Jossie owns hotels, the island's newspaper, a bunch of other businesses that he actually
they had gambling.
Yeah, because one of them's got the casino in it.
Yeah.
His dad's part owner of that one, but he owns multiples himself. And
we were staying with Denise and Alex, and their dad gave her, she was engineer, and he gave her the engineering business and took off with his 22-year-old girlfriend. And so they were running everything. And Andy didn't do this. Did you ride the horses? that
Yeah.
Alex tried to get us on?
Well, he had horses, he had tigers, he had everything.
Yeah, and he had the some kind of leopards or tigers. You didn't get in there, but
You didn't get in there either. It was a freaking tiger.
I got in there with Robin, and he said, "Well, you want to pet him?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." And and we got out, and Andy didn't get with us, but we went down that frickin' submarine, and I said, so they expect us. Here's how we get out if we're in trouble. We're in the back. We get out past 33 people or so up to the hatch. I said, no way. It's pitch dark. We'll be dead before we get out of here. Andy wasn't in that thing, but I was. I don't even know where you were.
I was with I forgot his name. We were over sitting off the coast of Venezuela.
Oh, were you with Negro?
I forgot his name, but he was he was what, 23 at the time. This is years ago, Kenny. But he had been keep in mind that's back long time ago. He was a Venezuelan police officer.
Oh,
22, 23 at the time.
I remember.
So tired of the corruption. I mean, I know Venezuela is a hot topic in this country today, but he was so tired of the corruption and everything back then that he left his job as a Venezuelan police, went to Aruba, basically got asylum there because Aruba is a Dutch colony, basically. Lived there, so Coop's out with Robbins, now he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know, man, it's your island. He's like, come on. So we jumped in one of the speedboats, took off, and we're literally sitting. I could have jumped out of the boat and hit the sand on the Venezuelan coastline, kind of like, what's going on right now. And we're sitting right there, and he's like, just don't get out of the boat.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. No, I'm not getting out of this boat because we're literally right there on the beach.
18 miles away. Even Alex wouldn't go to Venezuela to see his parents. There were dead people laying on the road for the oil companies and all that. Alex and Denise were born there, or Alex was, but he wouldn't even go there. It was too dangerous.
That was
but
bad.
They allowed us, I don't think you did it or I didn't do it, but they allowed us free windsurfing if we wanted it and lessons. And you could go 1,000 feet out and you'd still be in 3 foot of water.
Huh.
Yep.
So we didn't do that.
No.
That's not really paintball history, though, but it was a good time. But I guess it was because that's how the first paintball field in Aruba got started.
There's Westworld. That's me and Patty. That's my infrared Warrior that you bought. And I was practically blind at that game, at the night game. So they all that sounds like a scene from Hangover. Well, we were hung over when we got to Aruba. I was a fear of flying. Andy and they said, bring us some drinks. I said, 2 apiece. And we made it to Puerto Rico. Boy, was that nasty. Nastiest bathrooms I've ever been in. But we stayed
I didn't even know where you were. How would you even remember that?
I was taking Quaaludes.
Legally. Let's get that straight.
Yeah, it was legal. And I had a fear.
He has a bad fear of flying. So, yes, legally, the doctor, I know I was there, gave him like what's Quaaludes. I mean, illegal street drugs on the street today. The doctor was giving him so that we get him on the plane. So he'd be fine when you'd get there, get onto the plane. Right before we'd start the taxi, he would pop these, they were like Quaaludes. And within 15 minutes, he'd be out cold while the plane took off. But then he'd wake up like mid-flight and he's bombed out of his mind. So it's like he's literally like hands me $100 on one flight and he's like, I'm hungry. asked the stewardess to go make us a sandwich. And I was like,
I remember.
they don't make sandwiches, Coop.
But-
Keep your money. He's like, no, give her $100. She'll go in the back and make us sandwiches. I'm like, no, she won't. I'm
But-
arguing with a guy that's high as a kite over $100 and the fact that they're not going to make us sandwiches on the plane. Eat your peanuts and shut up.
The only thing is by that time, Quaalude days were over. It was barbiturates. So
Whatever it was, it knocked you out.
oh man, and the thing is, they'd last a couple hours. Andy and I have 2 or 3 more drinks apiece, and boy, we were back up. And when we got there, they said, "You want to go to dinner?" And so we're ready. And we got to dinner, and that's the first time I ever ate goat meat.
That's why Taco Bell's so good in Aruba, because it's goat meat instead of beef.
Yeah, and the bathrooms there, they wouldn't let us flush them. If you had to use them, you use the paper and you put them in a basket, and the maids would come because you didn't flush the toilets with paper. So
Where do you think it's all going to go on an island that's 6 miles wide and 20 miles long? Can't flush it out to where you're going to go surfing. Come on.
probably going to be in the ocean. I don't know. That's what they do. That's where they throw them today. So, and but I guess so. We get out of Rochester, we're cut out, and eventually, then we decided to become explosive shippers, and that's when Andy and I, he got the certification for the DOT, and we started shipping smoke grenades, both for public use. We got approved in Canada, but we never shipped there because we didn't want to print in French. And so parents were ordering their smoke grenades for their military, for their kids, and we would ship them FedEx because UPS wouldn't do it, and then go APO or FPO, and then we would get their squads in Kuwait so they could go through the villages safely, and the parents paid for it. We also supplied parachutists at the various games. We supplied football games with the smoke that they ran through. We had colored smoke, and then we also brought
It wasn't
a lot.
just smoke, though.
Huh?
It wasn't just smoke. See, people are used to the little smoke grenades that you get for the 4th of July.
No, these were military.
Well, these are, so if you've played softball, put a softball in your hand and then take a normal pineapple grenade detonator and screw it into the top. And now you've actually got our smoke grenade.
And we had the canisters, all military.
Those too, but the softball ones were better.
Andy likes those better. And,
you could throw them bad boys way out there.
And so that was sort of fun, but we had to put up $50,000, or I did, in order to get them to not sell to police and military. We're the only private company that said, yeah, we want to be in the paintball market. So we took those down to Oklahoma D-Day, and we set up that display, spent a fortune driving down there in the van, and we've got pictures I got it here on the wall, pictures of the tent and everything we were selling. And we ended up selling them at cost and probably lost $12,000, but everyone loved them. And you just had to be careful, because there is no smoke grenade, no matter what they say, that's smokeless, except that powdered one that we had, that M14 or whatever, Andy, the tall one.
Yep.
That was smokeless, and that was just a powder. But we were the only ones. Everything the police are using today and military isn't supposed to. That we had it all. The only thing I couldn't get was the stingers. I wanted to get some of those, but they wouldn't sell them to us.
Huh.
I don't know what we were going to use them on. It's not like, we're getting kamikaze attacked on the field.
Well, I've got my pepper balls and my rubber balls right here in the closet.
Yeah, but it's not like, you're going to go play U.S. versus Russia for a big game. The next thing you know, here comes Andy and Coop with Stinger missiles shooting down the Russians' plane. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Nick Sobolov in Russia, who I knew, he had the best stuff, pyrotechnics, and all that kind of thing you can imagine. He would set the trees on fire. He'd have the tanks. He'd have the mortars. And remember Tipman's, whatever his Tipman ordnance? They came down to our warehouse. And when you guys were coming to work or anybody that was coming to work, we'd set those up in the back, shoot it over the river and try to hit the cars. I don't know. Huh?
Kenny's shaking his head like,
It could be bad. Could be bad.
paintball and explosives. What could go wrong?
Absolutely nothing.
No. And I don't think Andy wired any of the stadium shows like I did, but I got my Colorado Department of Public Safety up on the wall, and I used to do Mile High Stadium, City of Thornton, all those kind of things. So if you want it blown up,
out of the racks that I built, yes.
Yeah, Andy built.
We had
some downtime, but we've got like 700 canisters, and we took them out. I don't know if did you go to Empire Reservoir?
You talk about when we went out to test them?
Where? No,
we test them, or we went out to do the show?
Shoot a show.
Shoot the show, yes.
Yeah, Empire Reservoir. And
yes.
We're building that show, and all of a sudden we hear sand falling down in one. And I said, holy crap, it lit. Run! And we all dove because we thought we were going to get blown up. So, and then we did a second show there, and it was my fault. We wired it wrong. We wired it with quick match, and we blew the whole show up in 5 minutes.
I bet it was a good show.
It was. It was like a finale for 5 minutes.
It was great. We had pogo racks. We had everything, but we should have used electric match. But I hadn't gone to enough firework conventions to know that's what we should have. But everyone raved about how it started. But that was a private lake at Empire Reservoir that one of the brokerage firm's owners, Dan Bell, Kerry Bell, owned. So, oh my God.
It's what paintball players do on the side.
Blow up stuff? Yeah. And we had a blast at Oklahoma D-Day because when the German tanks came through, we would hit it. We'd cover up those Tiger tanks with red, white, and blue smoke. So they had to come through that. And we did that to call in the medical.
If you've ever seen the pictures from D-Day with the tanks driving through the snow on the cover of the magazines, yeah, that was our smoke.
Yep. I was there in 2006, and I believe you were the commander for the Allies that year, were you?
No, Jim Helton was.
Helton was.
Huh?
Yeah, Helton was the commander. Okay. We were too busy sneaking around through the back 40 to do commando stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Helton, not too long, 4 or 5 years ago, he ran fledgling scenarios in Colorado, and he did a fantastic job. Bought out Mother, which is MXS, I believe, and he got shot dead by one of his sons. And that investigation by TBI in Tennessee is still going on. So I talked to Sean McNary, and he's one of the great losses. Andy never went, but Bud, Jim, we all went on deep sea fishing trips. Plus, one of the big things we did, Andy remembers this, Bud donated $10,000 worth of paintball guns so that we could sell them, spend the money on getting kids financed into paintball. And then we also took them on grandiose trips, deep sea fishing, roller coasters. And then I took the kids to Bud's house, and Bud changed their lives. He said, I dropped out in the 6th grade. I went in the Navy. They went crazy over his choppers, his 11,000 square foot place. And those kids turned out fantastic. One of them became an engineer. The other one's the head of a wiring plant. So we changed a lot of kids' lives, indirectly, directly, all working together. And Bud was our biggest financer. I spent the money, or some of the money, the time. Oh, there's Bud. There's Ross.
And Tim.
Yeah, Tim Schloss. I've never met Tim in person.
Timmy. He's another band member.
I know. And Fred said he wants to make me a band member. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, they're a good group of guys, that's for sure. I'm just there to take notes and not spill the beans on their memory loss that they've already told the story once or twice.
And you make his pancakes and bacon in between games.
I will make you pancakes and bacon between games.
He does. He makes big pancakes and bacon in between games. It's great.
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
Here's Jim Lively, Tim Schloss, Hal, Bud, Chip Kurt, and Terry Schloss.
Wow. I still got to go there and meet a lot of the people.
Oh, yeah. It's a good time. Everybody seems to have a great time and get along well. It's a very well-rounded game.
Jessica
these are WCPL tournaments where you see most of us, yes.
Okay.
Just for those that don't know.
The WCPL, I think that's April of this year, in April 18th and 19th.
Well, yes. There's a bunch of them across the country.
Well, we'll be at Andy's July 12th.
Yes.
Yep.
And I won't wear my Force Recon anymore. They're worn out. I'll just wear my regular. I'm back. I'm down to 180, 5'11".
There you go.
We can put you in a jersey. Don't worry. There might be a company that, makes all the jerseys for Allie Remembered.
Tell us about it, Andy. Where could you find your perfect jersey at?
Uglypaintball.com.
Wow.
Really? That's like ugly sweaters.
Yeah.
Well, no, but they make nice stuff.
They do. And then something you guys have notably made, and I'm pretty sure Andy has hand pieced together a few hundred of these barrel blockers that guy you donated.
Oh.
Yeah, those are all hand assembled by yours truly. Yep.
Yeah. We made 6,000, and Ron Nab, who was our designer, he's the one that came up, and John Amadea said it was the safest blocker ever made in history.
Yeah.
And I still have one on my Kodiak, I have one on my Warrior, I've got one on my Storm, but I had to paint the cap red. That's my infrared goggles. When the guys cheated at the game in Westworld, I couldn't hardly see, but they'd say, this guy's cheating. And they'd drag me up to him and say, can you see him? And I said, yeah. They said, light him up until he quits cheating. He couldn't wipe anymore. So we would do that over the Mexican village wall.
You couldn't see Cooper because you can't throw a goddamn smoke grenade to save your life. So if you've ever played paintball in Arizona, or if you've ever been to Arizona for that fact, because I go there for work, they have these really, really big cactus that are protected. You're not allowed to do anything to them by Arizona law. But if you're out playing in the middle of the desert, especially out where there's a movie prop whole town, Western town set up called Westworld, and your boss runs up behind you while you and your teammate Steve are standing there going, okay, we need to get to that bunker over there, etc., to get these guys to do, the normal paintball stuff. And then here comes Coop. Hey, I'll throw smoke and cover you guys. Sounds like a great idea because we know how well our smoke grenades work, minus the weakling. And granted, this was years ago, but can't throw a softball to save his life. Yep, it lands like 10, 20 feet in front of you. 100,000 cubic feet of smoke goes off, and you're trying to run with those big cactus. Well, that's why you couldn't see, because you couldn't get the smoke far enough out in front of us to be able to see anything. Yeah, it was an adventure, let me tell you that.
And the cactus needles shoot out. They shoot out and hit you. One of them hit my dad, and it blew up the paint grenade in his pocket. And at the time, we were using not the sucrose grenades, but we brought down Smith & Wesson hexachlorophene, which they made illegal with the military because 1 in 100,000 people are allergic to it.
Okay.
Yeah, but you've had a great day playing paintball when your teammate from Kansas, you get back to the hotel and he walks into the bathroom and then comes walking back out with a needle that's like this long. And he's like, look at this. And you're like, yeah, it's a big cactus needle, Steve. Where'd you get that from? He's like, oh, it's been in my butt all day.
You talking about Steve Riskin?
No, Steve Tucker.
Oh, oh my God.
Hey, backed into one, got it stuck in his butt, and he played all day long with the cactus needle back there.
Well, a great story. We had many from Westworld. Andy, Tucker, who else? Chris, some other guy. 4 of us walked right down the river ravine. Both teams were shooting at each other, and we're just doing a dead man's walk. We go right down that frickin' river, and all of a sudden, it's like mayhem. Bah, 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 everybody, and some guy turns around and hits me. Oh, Melody was with us, I think. And he hits me in the stomach, and point blank, I said, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You show what in the world is Sean saying? But anyway, so here we are. Ron rushes all the referees, thinks there's a big ass fight, and there was no fight. Tucker, I said, all of a sudden we hear you got to pull the flag down, and you hear this big siren, and Tucker just shows he's a farmer from Kansas, from where was he's in Canada now. He pulls the flag down while everyone's going crazy, and we hear that we won the game. He said, I wasn't going to stay there and get shot to shit like you guys.
I don't know. We ran to the flag station after Dead Man's walking the scenario game. It was awesome.
But we got the crap shot out of us while he just walked away.
But it worked.
Yeah, it did. And
all about the win.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were there, but we did the one where we walked. I said, let's do the biggest one ever. and we walked 9 of us in with Scotty Flint, who at the time was not as nice as he is now. And I said, Scotty, and those guys, tournament guys, they're all good. Let's go walking in and get in the circle, drop down, and start shooting people with our AGA repeaters. And I said, all right, if they start to put a bead on us, and some of the tournament guys were there from California, they had their own truck, all this, and I said, pick up the argument to drown them out. Wayne came in with 100 from another side. He came down the street. He goes, what are those guys doing? And then we had more coming, and Tucker went back to get the flag, and they had, 10, 12 guys there that shot the crap out of him. But the crowd, the tournament guy, he goes, are you dead? You dead? I said, no, bam, you are. And after that, his girlfriend came up parking lot, says, boy, you humbled him. And anyway, we all got shot out, but the crowd went crazy because they were all at the saloon behind the netting. So we made them pretty happy.
Sounds like a great time. I know we've about run into our hour, but I know, Guy, you have a couple books you just released, so I wanted to let you have a second to get a free plug in for those.
Oh, I'll show you.
See, now he's got to get off.
Andy says
I have to drive over there and pick you up.
Yeah. Sit down there.
Bad enough, I've already got to tie Bud's shoes before we play.
I just released the Bataan Death March. That's a true story of someone, Purcell, that survived the Bataan Death March. My best friend who died in '94, our crazy life together, I released Just One Man. So, and then this is just inspirational, words to live by. And I've got one more done. It's the 60s. And then I've got one more on my investment world. That's sort of how we financed everything back in the day. So there's a quick plug on those.
Yeah. I just I wanted you to be able to share those with everybody. I know you just got done getting them released, so share it to the world there. But I really appreciate you guys coming on tonight, though.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. It's sort of tough getting back into my crunches and getting back into jogging and boxing, but I'll be ready for the games. I was so sore after playing Border Wars. Holy cow. I said, I can't play 2026 the way I suffered then.
Yeah.
But
well, Andy keeps us all whipped into shape on the band. He passes us all pizza and some beers and some soft drinks and says, eat up, guys. We don't want nobody dying out there.
Well, I don't know about you guys,
Because
but
I'm busy running to the 50.
Yeah, well, somebody has to do it. Everybody else is back at the starting gate still.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally gave up drinking. I took that too far, but even Bud said, well, I did too. So anyway, I don't have any aches and pains, so I wake up every morning grateful.
That's great. Well, again, thank you guys for coming on, and I appreciate your time and sharing a little bit of paintball history with us. And we've learned a lot between your story, our guys' stories, and then Andy correcting them or adjusting them slightly. And then, we'll get it out.
That's what I do on the band, too. You already know that.
I know. You're the correction. You're like
you do the same thing. We have to take care of the grandpas. It's like,
I make pancakes, bacon, and you just correct them.
And
Sean, all the tents and chairs and everything else.
In 2 or 3 weeks, Sean McNary, myself, and Andy, I think, and maybe Amadeus is going to be on Fred's show.
Great.
Sean remembers more about D-Day and what we did than anybody on the planet.
All right, cool.
Maybe Andy does too, but Sean tells me some of the things we were doing and that kind of thing. And I said, holy cow, Sean, I don't even remember the name of all the cities we conquered.
Yeah, it was a big event. I think what they finished out with about 700 acres of playing field, so it ended up being quite the field.
Well, 15,000 kids and families and people showed up. That's where I met Paul Fogel from Pennsylvania Skirmish. And he said,
Yeah.
I had to come down to this Indian reservation that is in the middle of nowhere and see why there's 4,000 players going there. And he came down. I met Paul in St. Louis. I was actually with Karen of Paintball Sports at the time, and we were hanging out. And we went to St. Louis, but we got stuck in the frickin' tornado. I don't know if you got stuck in that, Andy, but I took the kids down there twice.
The tornado at D-Day?
Yeah.
That's
Who the
about
hell do you
every
think was in the tent with you?
I was in the tent myself with a 100-foot cord. I woke up and all the water was hanging on top of me.
Who do
You
you think
weren't
was sitting in the vendor tent holding that down so all of our
Oh,
stuff?
yeah,
didn't go?
I know you got, and the whole front street. I come out there in the morning, and I don't know about our tent, but most of that with Matt Shooks and all theirs was just mangled.
But everybody lost there. It was a damn tornado that came through. What do you want?
Yeah.
Karen and I were driving right into it, and it was lifting my car. And I said, Karen, I'm going back the other way into Missouri. So I hit 120 miles an hour. I only stopped at McDonald's because people were waving. What do we do? I said, get out in the ditch, get away from the windows. And we never made it back to the kids' hotel. We just made it to her hotel, and they had us in the lobby. And I said, well, I think we should be in the bathroom, but we just stayed in the lobby. And we went back the next day, and there were 2-foot trees pulled out of the ground. And I said, holy cow, we were driving into it. And you're not, I told her real quick, I said, let's get in that culvert. I said, let's just make sure there's not copperheads. She says, I'm not getting dirty. I said, okay, next time I'm in anything like that, the girl's getting dirty, I'm getting in there.
All right.
got-
Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll have to have you on another day, another time, another story.
Yeah,
Oh, don't worry, you've got plenty of them, Kenny, just like the rest of our older bandmates.
Sure.
Oh my God. Andy and I could tell stories forever.
I understand.
And
I do appreciate it, though. And thanks for coming on, and we'll see you guys later.
all right.
Have a good one.
See you guys.
Peace.
See you, Andy. Thanks. And there you have it. You had Mr. Guy Cooper and Mr. Andy Strutt. And then if you're a reader, check out Guy's books. And if you don't know what the Alley Remember Foundation is, make sure you look them up. They do a lot of great things. If you've seen them over this holiday season, they were very active on Facebook, sharing all the Christmas joy that they are spreading. It's all for good cause, great cause. And so make sure you check that out. And hopefully you can catch Guy or Andy at an event this summer. They do a benefit out in Colorado. And it goes to the foundation. So if you're interested or in the Colorado area, check them out. But again, thanks for joining us this evening. Another couple of great guests, some great paintball history shared there, and I'm sure they could go on for days, which we'd love to, but keep this down to about an hour. But thanks for joining us. And again, this podcast is brought to you by Wargame Products, as you can see up in the top corner. And we appreciate their sponsorship and paying for this program, or sponsoring this program. And hopefully we can catch you guys at an event this year with the Paintball Museum. Anyway, everybody have a great night. Thanks for watching. See you later.